That's Arya Stark of Winterfell, my lord. Tywin remembered very clearly the moment he heard those words from Pater Baelish. It brought a mix of emotions, both triumph and frustration. Triumph, that they had another bargaining chip in this war, 2 Stark girls instead of 1. Frustration that he had not seen it sooner. He knew she was from the north. He knew she was a noble girl by her speech and education. He knew she was on the run from something. All of those pieces should have connected far sooner. Perhaps they would have, had he not been so focused on stopping her damned brother and his North men. Arya Stark. Right under my nose, he thought. I wonder if she has been reading our letters. She was a smart girl, traveling as a boy and keeping her head low. But she was just a bit too smart for her own good. It showed. It made her obvious. It made her obvious. He would have been willing to let her slip by if she was any other northern girl. Not Arya Stark, however. You wouldn't have known, of course, Littlefinger continued. You never met the girl, or any of the Stark children for that matter. No, Tywin said. Shall I bring her to you? Littlefinger asked. I can arrange for... No, Tywin said. She'll be along shortly. She'll be along shortly. I'll handle her then. I can handle this on my own. Lord Baelish inclined his head. I'll leave to you then. In the meantime, I shall go to Highgarden to negotiate with the Tyrells. Good, Tywin said. Make sure they do not declare for anyone but King Joffrey. Tywin did not act immediately on Lord Baelish's words. He wanted to see how well the girl lied when he tested her. He asked her questions, wondering if she would give herself away. If you're going to pose as a commoner, you should do it properly. My mother served Lady Dustin for many years, my lord. She taught me how to speak proper. You're wrong, Lily. She was a quick liar, but easy to see through. She reminded him very much of Cersei when she was younger, daring and utterly disdainful of the role society laid out for her as a woman. Yet as the daughter of a great noble house, there was very little that she could do. He let her play her game for a little longer, until the winds of war changed and it came time to move out again. When his generals left the room to prepare and Arya began to slip away, Tywin stopped her. Girl, come here a moment. Arya's mind was racing. Lord Tywin meant to ride out that night, and she had to find Jaqen before he did. If she could kill him, perhaps that would cripple the Lannister army in the fight against Robb. It was a good choice, she knew. The best possible choice for her third name. The Lord of House Lannister was surprising. She had heard many awful stories about him, and while he was certainly a man to be feared, she did not fear him as much as she should. She hated him, primarily for his name and for his campaign against her brother, but he had done little to wrong her personally. He was miles away when Joffrey took her father's head. His was a strange inclusion, her list, because she did not yet have something to blame him for. But she would do it. She would find Jaqen and give him the name. Girl, come here a moment. Arya paused, fighting the urge to curse under her breath. She had to find Jaqen as soon as possible. Slowly, she turned to face Tywin. Yes, my lord. Tywin motioned for her to sit across from him. It was clearly not a suggestion. Slowly, Arya moved toward the table, perching herself on the edge of her chair in case she needed to make an escape. He seemed to notice. Oh! Are you planning to run? Tywin tilted his head to the side. What do you think I am going to do with you? Arya shook her head. She didn't know, but something about this did not feel right. Do you mean to take me with you? As your cupbearer. I do plan to take you with me, yes. Tywin held her gaze. What's your name, girl? Nah, you never said. The question threw Arya off guard. He had never asked, and she thought he never would. She scrambled for an answer, saying the first name that came to mind. Jane Poole, she managed. Tywin's mouth twitched. You seem uncertain of that. I'm not, Arya said firmly. It's Jane Poole. You're lying, Tywin said. Let's try once again. Tell me your name." Icy dread spread through Arya's chest, and her hands shook. He looked at her with the eyes of a man who already knew the answer. "Do you already know my name, my lord?" she murmured. Yes," Tywin said. "I do. I may not have known your face, but Lord Baelish did. You must have suspected he would. You got very tense around him." Arya swallowed a lump in her throat. Then she tried to bolt. He had predicted this. He stood at the same moment she did, holding her fast by her shoulders. She twisted and struggled in his grip, but it did not give. Her size worked against her here. He was much stronger than her. "Let me go," she demanded. "Bill!" "You know I'm not going to do that," Tywin said. Arya squirmed and tried to wiggle free, but his grip only tightened like a vice around her. "Settle yourself, Lady Arya. You'll never make it out of here without at least one of my soldiers catching you. And they might not treat you as kindly." Arya's heart beat a fast pace against her chest. She wanted to fight him off, to claw his eyes out. She wanted a wolf's form to break through her small human shape and rip out his throat. But caught in the lion's jaws, she felt more like a helpless girl. She stilled, drawing in a few deep breaths. He looked down at her. "Ah! Are you done?" Arya gave a small nod. Tywin kept his grip for a moment longer. Then he let her go. Good. Arya sank slowly into her chair. "You've known since Littlefinger came?" "Yes," Tywin said. "Then why didn't you mention it earlier?" she asked. "You asked!" "It was not necessary then," Tywin said. "And I wanted to see how well you would lie." Arya looked up at him. "How did I lie?" "Well enough," Tywin said, "for someone who comes from so honest a family." He tilted his head to the side. "You must hate me deeply. A wonder you did not poison my cup." "I hate your family," Arya agreed. "They killed my father." "King Joffrey did kill your father, yes," Tywin said. "It was a dreadfully stupid thing to do. Your father could have been the key to making peace with the North. I very much wish he was alive. Not as much as I do," Arya murmured. Tywin observed her for a long moment. "Not as much as you do." "I was there that day," Arya said. "Even after my father gave him his confession and said everything he wanted, he still took his head because the crowd wanted it." Her hands clenched into fists. "I would kill him if I could." "I imagine." "But you can't," Tywin said. "Kings die all of the time," Arya said. "Everyone dies." "You should mind that tongue of yours," Tywin said. "Being so honest is what gets you Starks in trouble." "I'm already in trouble," Arya said. "You know my name. You won't give me a chance to escape." "I won't," Tywin agreed. "Will you send me back to King's Landing?" Arya. "I've thought about it," Tywin said. "I don't suppose it would be a pleasant experience for you. Kept a captive in the Red Keep with your sister. Joffrey does despise you for that business with your wolf. I can't imagine he would treat you kindly. I don't think my daughter likes you very much either." "I don't like her," Arya muttered. "Yes, but she has more power in this situation, so how you feel doesn't matter," Tywin said. Arya shivered. Truthfully, the thought of returning to the Red Keep terrified her. What would they do to her there, now that her father was not around to protect her? Sansa was still alive. It amazed her that she had managed it this long. Arya wasn't sure how long she would last without wanting to throw herself from the tower. "I can offer you an alternative," Tywin said. "One that might be more favorable to you." Arya raised an eyebrow. "Will you let me go?" "Of course not. I'm not stupid. But I might need you as a bargaining chip on the battlefield. You could continue to pose as my nameless cupbearer for a time. I won't let you out of my sight, and neither will my generals." He leaned forward. "But if you try to run, you will be caught. and I will ship you back to King's Landing to be at the mercy of Joffrey and his mother." Arya pressed her lips together in a tight line. If she could pick her companions, she far preferred Tywin. He seemed to tolerate her at least, even when she was careless with her words. Not to mention, being on the battlefield could put her closer to Robb. She knew Tywin would not tolerate an escape attempt, though. He would keep her carefully guarded. "Ballet?" Tywin asked. Arya nodded once. "I will take your offer, my lord." Tywin nodded once, as if he expected this. "I don't imagine you have any possessions to gather." Arya shook her head. Everything had been taken from her long ago. Her sword, her family, now her freedom. She had nothing left but her own name. Even that seemed cursed. "Good," Tywin said. "We ride tonight." Lord Baelish turned out to be useful after all. His negotiations with House Tyrell, particularly with Lady Olenna and Lady Margaery, earned the Lannisters the army they needed to crush Stannis from behind at the Battle of Blackwater. Meanwhile, Tywin could leave most of his army in the Riverlands to hold the line against the north. One threat was dealt with. The Baratheons were gone or scattered, and the Tyrells brought to heel. It left them an opportunity to focus on the Starks. Arya Stark had clearly done the math on this fact. She looked more nervous of late as she listened to the battle meetings. He caught her glancing over her shoulder whenever she heard mention of her brother. There was a possibility that the war would turn, and Tywin imagined she was picturing the rest of her family's heads on spikes beside her father's. She had every right to be worried, because the Stark boy had recently made some very crucial missteps in this war. First, he had executed Richard Karstark for killing 2 young Lannister hostages. It was a proper punishment for disobeying orders, but it lost him a sizable house of allies. Second, he had married some low-born girl for love rather than keep his vow to Lord Frey. That was unexpectedly dishonorable of Robb Stark, though expectedly stupid of a 17-year-old boy. It gave Tywin satisfaction to see that the boy was not immune to incompetence. Alder Frey did not appreciate this slight, and was more than willing to speak with Tywin on the matter. Third, he had gone and given the Greyjoy ward power in his army, and the Greyjoy boy turned on him and joined his father in rebellion. Robb Stark's home was under attack, and his younger brothers held hostage. He was stupid to trust a Greyjoy in the first place. Fourth, he had failed to notice the turn of one of his other allies. Roose Bolton had long been disillusioned with this boy king, and sought a claim to Warden of the North. The noose was tightening on the young wolf, on and off the battlefield, and he did not even know it. Tywin knew he had an opportunity to in this war. It would not be an honorable ending, but that mattered little to Tywin. He simply wanted to see this war finished so that they could focus on preparing for winter. There would be problems following the fall of House Stark, of course. The North was stubborn and would be difficult without a Stark in Winterfell. They Greyjoys would also be a problem. But Robb Stark would never agree to peace after his father's death. Especially not when he still had Jaime. His cupbearer in disguise knew nothing of these plans of his. She would find out eventually and hate him deeply when she did. He did not mind that. Most people hated him. But if she grew too bold in her anger, he would have to put her down. "Do you need something, my lord?" Arya asked. She had noticed him watching her. No. Tywin rubbed his chin. Actually, yes. An answer to a question. He leaned forward. Your brother, Robb. Were you close with him? Arya observed him suspiciously. Bah! I'm not sure I want to answer that, my lord. No, but you will, Tywin said. The girl looked down at her feet, as if thinking of a lie. But then she settled against it. We were all close. I was always closest with Jon, though. Your bastard brother. Don't call him that. Arya's eyes seemed to flare with grey fire. Why not? That's what he is, Tywin said. There is no sense in lying with kinder words. Arya did not reply. She often became sullen when she did not have a retort. It reminded Tywin of Cersei when she was a child, and Cersei now, for that matter. If your brother had to choose between his sisters and his war, what would he choose? Tywin asked. Cool. In your honest opinion, Arya did not look quite comfortable with this question. I'm not sure. She looked up at him. She looked up at him. He loves us dearly, but he loved the North too. He wants to do right by the North in father's absence. But my mother is a Tully. Their words are family, duty, honor. Family first, Tywin said. A sentimental notion. Will he follow your mother's words, or your father's? I don't know, Arya said. If he refused to bend, would you kill me, my lord? She was a sharp girl. She knew that just because she was a lady did not make her immortal. Anyone can be killed. That depends, Tywin said at last. The flaps of the tent parted and Kevin rushed inside, panting for breath. We have a visitor. Good or bad? Tywin asked. Good. Very good. DS. Kevin held the flap aside. Tywin was stunned to see Jaime enter the tent. He stood abruptly, nearly knocking back his chair. Tywin was not one to let his emotions get the better of him, but here he could not hide his shock. Jaime had the gall to smile. I'm back. If he was. And with his arrival, the tide shifted again. Arya was not an expert at war, but she did know the significance of Jaime Lannister entering the tent that evening. If he was here, he was not her brother's hostage. Tywin had more than once implied that Jaime was the only reason he could not harm Arya or Sansa, yet here he was, free. How did you get here? Tywin asked. Walked a rather long way, with a very tall woman as my guide. You should see that she is properly compensated. She did a fine job protecting me on the way. Jaime Lannister sat down in front of his father's desk. Ah, yes. Catelyn Stark sends her regards. Catelyn Stark let you go? Tywin asked. She wished for me to negotiate for the release of her daughters, Jaime said. I don't think her son would approve. Nonetheless, if we consider this an exchange of hostages, it would be in good faith to return at least one girl. Arya looked up, hardly daring to breathe. Return one girl. Could she truly return home? Could she truly return home? The thought made her whole body feel lighter. It would be if we didn't still have a war to win, Tywin said. My willingness to release her daughters depends entirely on whether or not they will accept my peace terms. Releasing you was stupid. It's wonderful to see you too, father, Jaime said. I'm all right, by the way. Unharmed. I'm sure you were wondering. Tywin gave Jaime a glare that would have shattered most people like glass. But Jaime was Tywin's son. He was invincible to such things. Funny, for as much as Tywin claimed to care for his son's well-being, he was awfully cold to him. Arya's father was never so cold to any of his children. As it happens, I was wondering, Tywin said. I've been doing my level best to win this war without provoking Robb Stark to harm you in any way. You've been an obstacle for many months now, so don't be smug with me. You're full of warm words as always, Jaime retorted. Warm words don't win wars. They can be nice from family. If you want warmth, you're welcome to continue south to King's Landing. I still have work to do here. For a moment, a silence fell between them. Arya realized she had been completely still for the last minute, frozen in the middle of cleaning a goblet. Jaime seemed to notice, and she quickly went back to cleaning. Your cupbearer is rather attentive to our conversations, Jaime said. Have you considered he might be a spy? She is not a spy, Tywin said, seemingly glad for a change in topic. Come here, girl. Arya swallowed hard, cautiously approaching the table. Whoa! She felt the Kingslayer watching her, as if trying to place her face. Jaime, this is Arya Stark of Winterfell, Tywin said. I believe you've met. Jaime's eyebrows shot up. 7 hells it is. I didn't recognize her. Arya cleared her throat. Oh! That's not surprising. We never spoke at Winterfell, my lord. I think I saw you running around with a helmet on in the courtyard once, Jaime said. Arya's mouth twitched. That does sound like me, sir. We have something in common, you and me, Jaime said. I was a hostage to your family, and now you're a hostage to mine. But my mother wanted you to negotiate for my return, doesn't she? Arya said. Jaime glanced at Tywin. But you see who I'm negotiating with. Tywin did not take the bait of Jaime's comment, and he did not cut their conversation short either. Arya felt bold enough to ask another question. What else? What else did my mother say to you? She insulted me a great deal. But at the end of the day, she let me go because she worried for you. And your sister, of course. Jaime tilted his head to the side. No one had heard a word about you. Some people thought you might be dead. Might. As you can see, she's not, Tywin said. For now, she poses as my cupbearer. An odd choice. Why not send her back to King's Landing? I don't trust Cersei with her, Tywin said. Fair, Jaime said. Amy and it's still an unusual job for a hostage. She was posing as my cupbearer when I discovered her identity. And she's good at it. I find her company more tolerable than most of my men, Tywin said. She doesn't waste my time with incompetence. Really? Jaime glanced up at Arya. You know, that's the closet thing you'll get to a compliment from him. You should keep it close. Your time as a prisoner really has not sobered you, Tywin said. You still take nothing seriously. If I took everything seriously, life would be much more depressing, Jaime said. This is war, Jaime. Better to be depressed than losing, Tywin said flatly. Jaime tilted his head to the side. What happens if we're both? I've heard Stannis Baratheon fell. That's good news, but the young wolf has been outplaying you. I have a way to end this war. Multiple ways, in fact, now that you've returned. Tywin nodded at Arya. She has just become much more useful bargaining chip. Robb Stark no longer has anything he can use against me. Arya swallowed hard. Hey! It seemed she would no longer be a cupbearer soon. In fact, depending on negotiations, she may not even be alive soon. Arya dared not ask about Tywin's ways to end the war for the rest of the day. She kept her head down and her tongue silent. It wasn't that she wasn't curious. She wanted to know more than anything, but she feared for the lives of her family. And for her own as well. He noticed her silence. Tywin Lannister was an observant man, and he missed nothing. You're quiet today. You're quiet today. I can see you turning over the future in your head. I'm not, Arya replied. I'm not thinking about anything. You're lying to me again. What did I say about lying to me? Arya looked up at him. Not to do it. I'm glad your memory is still sound. Tywin indicated the chair in front of his table. Arya slowly put down the pitcher and went to sit down. Her heart hammered against her ribcage. Gah! Foolishly, she had hoped he would forget all about her if she was just silent. She hoped she might turn into a shadow. Shadows did not have to face their fate. Ask the question you've been wondering, Tywin said. Arya bit her lip. How can you end this war? You said you have more than one way. I do, Tywin said. Is there a way that does not end with most of my family dead? Arya asked. She felt her hands shake as she asked the question. But if he answered no, there was little she could do to stop him. Tywin was something like a storm. Inevitable and merciless. Tywin observed her for a long moment, letting the question hang in the silence. Then he nodded once. There is a way. Arya released a breath. Of course, I don't know if your brother will take it. He has proven very stubborn, Tywin said. Until Jaime returned, I was inclined to go with a different option. But Catelyn Stark's love of her children has bought them one last chance to accept peace. Peace? Arya asked. I'm willing to treat this northern rebellion the way Robert Baratheon did the Greyjoy rebellion, Tywin said. It is much easier to keep a Stark in Winterfell than risk dividing the North so close to winter. And speaking of the Greyjoys, I would prefer the Starks deal with their attack themselves. I don't want to waste the soldiers on it. But if Robb Stark wants peace, he'll do it my way. No negotiation. And what is your way, my lord? Arya asked. Guess, Tywin said. It was another test. He did like testing her. Arya sat forward a bit in her seat. The North would remain a part of the Seven Kingdoms, loyal to the realm. Robb would be the Warden of the North, on the condition that he never rise up again, or else you would replace him with someone else. If he accepted, he would be required to execute any Northern lords who did not to prevent further fighting in the North. And, Arya trailed off. Tywin tilted his head to the side. And? Arya's fists clenched as she thought of the Greyjoy rebellion. They had crushed their armies soundly, and her father had taken on Theon as a ward to be sure it wouldn't happen again. Arya forgot sometimes, but Theon was very much a hostage in Winterfell. You would keep a hostage, Arya said. To kill if my brother ever did rebel again. A shadow of a mirthless smile crossed Tywin's face. You are a smart girl. Tywin did not say it, but Arya knew that he meant to take her as his hostage if negotiations went well. She would be called a ward, but she would be a captive in King's Landing. And she wasn't sure how kindly the Lannister family would treat a wolf in their halls. They hadn't treated Sansa's wolf kindly, after all, or Sansa herself. I will send out a raven tonight, Tywin said, and the young wolf and I will meet. I will bring you with me. You may be the difference between your brother choosing the right path or the wrong one, I promise you. If he rejects my offer, he and your mother will die. It won't be clean. It won't be honorable. But it will end the war, and that's all I care about right now. If he chooses the wrong path, you'll have to kill me too, Arya muttered, because if they die, I would spend the rest of my life trying to kill you. It was a bold comment. Oh! Too bold. An icy silence hung between them, but Arya did not shrink. Not this time. It so happens that if he refuses my offer, I will kill you, girl, Tywin said. So I suppose I won't have anything to fear. Arya shivered. Of course, that was why Tywin would bring her with him to negotiate, so that he could use her death as a threat against Robb and her mother. If your brother had to choose between his sisters and his war, what would he choose? Arya still did not know the answer to that question. She raised her chin. Ooh, I'm not afraid to die. Yes, you are, Tywin said. Everyone is afraid to die. Even if you weren't, you fear the death of your family. This is not just about you. It is about them as well. Think on that before we write tomorrow. Arya hated him in that moment. The way he saw through her, the certainty of his words. She always wanted to be a hero in a story, utterly unafraid to die a glorious death in battle. Yet, those were only stories. No! The heroes probably cried out in terror at the moment of their demise, and even her father had looked afraid before the end. Through letters, Tywin Lannister and Robb Stark agreed on terms of meeting. They agreed on how many men they would bring. They agreed on the place. Tywin sent spies to be sure he would not be tricked by the boy. Robb was far more willing to use tricks than his father in the field of battle. Tywin respected that to a point, but he would not fall for any more of his games. In this case, Robb Stark kept his word. From the hill, Tywin could see the few Stark tents pitched. It seemed to be the agreed-upon amount. Tywin had brought Jaime with him, mostly because he fully expected the Stark boy to lie and claim he had his son hostage still. Beyond that, he brought the best soldiers in his guard. And the girl. She sat on a horse between him and Jaime. Her face was vacant and calm, as if she was not worried at all about the discussion to come, but Tywin could see the pale white of her knuckles as she gripped her saddle. She was afraid. For her family, and for herself. Tywin would not enjoy having to kill the girl, if it came to that. He would do it himself, and he would make it clean and quick. but it would be a shame to lose her as his cupbearer. Hopefully, the threat of losing a daughter would compel Catelyn Stark to see his side. In his mind, he already knew how some of this negotiation would go. They would call him dishonorable, as most Starks did, as if honor had any place at all in war. But in the end, if they were smart, they would accept his terms. Their lives. The survival of the Stark family depended on this night. It was the first time Tywin had actually seen Robb Stark face to face. He looked more like his mother than his father, with hints of Tully red in his brown hair. He had the Stark eyes, though, the cold grey of the north. Tywin recognized those same eyes in Arya Stark. His expression was fierce when Tywin entered, but he remembered his courtesies. This was a truce, and there would be no blood shed in this tent. It would be a tremendous dishonor if there was, and no Stark would break such a vow. Tywin would if it suited him. So would the Freys and the Boltons. This meeting would determine if he needed their services. "I was surprised to receive your letter," Robb Stark said. "You know my terms. Unless you wish to accept them, there will not be peace." He took a hard stance to begin. It was smart and would intimidate most men. But Tywin Lannister was not most men. "I've read your terms. At one point, perhaps you had the leverage to bargain for them. Now, you do not. We've won many victories against your armies," Robb said. "Robb! A few losses, but nothing compared to yours. Why shouldn't we keep fighting and winning?" "I suppose it depends on how much value you put on your sisters' lives," Tywin said. "You may have my sisters, but we have your son," Robb muttered, so careful about making threats. "Ty!" There was the lie Tywin was waiting for. He spoke with such confidence that Tywin might have believed him if he did not know better. "Really? And where is it you are keeping my son?" "I wouldn't tell you that, Lannister," Robb said. "That's all right. You don't have to," Tywin said. "Because you don't have my son." He glanced over his shoulder, and Jaime entered the tent, removing his helm. He looked more the part of Lannister now that he had cut his hair and shaved his beard. He was no longer ragged from his time as a prisoner, and he looked more than a little bit smug as he stared down the king in the north. "Hello again, Lord Stark." Robb glared at him, and Catelyn Stark gripped the edge of the table. "Did your son also mention that I was the one who sent him?" She asked, "Or did he break that vow? Always assuming the worst about me, aren't you?" Let me ask. "Yes, as it happens, I did tell my father that you sent me and what you wanted in return." "And?" Lady Stark looked to Tywin. She wanted her daughters very much. Her love of them had driven her to a tremendously stupid decision that worked very much in Tywin's favor. "And it is only because you returned my son that I offered this meeting," Tywin said. "To discuss the future of this war and your family in Westeros." "Don't pretend you hold the cards here, Lannister," Robb said. "We still have more victories. Victories on the battlefield are not the only way to win wars," Tywin said. "I assure you that I know how to win wars without them. You've proven a capable commander, willing to take calculated risks. I respect your efforts on the battlefield, but I will not entertain them anymore. If you can win the war, then why offer peace at all?" Robb asked. "I know your history, Lord Tywin. You've broken many people who defied you and your family, and you did so without mercy. If you wish to make peace with me, there must be a reason." "Of course there is," Tywin said. "Keeping a Stark in Winterfell is always preferable. If I place anyone else at that seat, it will split the North. I'll have to handle the Greyjoy rebellion on my own as well. I'll do it, but I prefer not to waste more Lannister lives on those tiresome fools. According to your own words, winter is coming, and I don't intend to fight the North in the cold." "Then perhaps you should give us our independence," Robb said. "And you won't have to do so." "How well do you think you do in independence?" Tywin said. "The North has grown dependent on resources from the South during winter over the many years belonging to the realm. Since you have been in war, you have not been able to gather as many crops before they turn. Without help from the crown, your people will starve. How will independence taste to them then? I don't claim it wouldn't be hard, Robb said, but Northmen are hard people, used to dealing with cold. We will make do. Perhaps you will, and when the summer comes again, my armies will be stronger, Tywin said. This is assuming I let you live until the summer, which I would not. I cannot bend the knee to the boy who murdered my father. It is out of the question, Robb said. Then let me give you a reason to bring it back into the question. Tywin stood, snapping his fingers at Jaime, who opened the tent flap again. Arya Stark stepped into the room. The effect was immediate. Catelyn stood abruptly, and Robb Stark's mask dropped. He had hit a nerve with both of them, and thus it revealed their weakness. Now, it was time to see how useful a pawn Arya Stark could be. It had been nearly a year since Arya had seen her mother, and she wanted nothing more than to run to her. The moment her mother stood, she stepped forward on instinct. But Tywin grasped the scruff of her tunic and forced her to his side. His hand was like a vice, and she could not hope to squirm away. I will not be afraid, she told herself. I will be strong. Yet her hand shook. Fire. Her mother's voice cracked, and tears rose to her blue eyes. But those tears burned like fire when she looked up at Tywin. If you have harmed her. Calm yourself, Lady Stark. I haven't harmed her, Tywin said. You can ask her yourself if you wish. Robb clenched the edge of the table hard, looking like he wanted to overturn it. But he stayed seated. Arya, have you been mistreated at all? No, Arya replied. I'm all right. Miss. There, you see, Tywin said. Tywin said, you can't say the same of some of the Lannister hostages you took. Your men killed them. Duh! And I punished them for it, as you might have heard, Robb said. I know. Which is why I did not punish the girl in kind, Tywin said. Now, let us be clear. I hold every card. I have 2 Stark daughters, one in King's Landing and one here. I have a larger army now that we have allied with the Tyrells. I have more resources for when the winter comes. This is my last offer. Arya felt his grip tighten on her tunic. If you do not accept my terms of peace, I will keep Sansa Stark as a hostage. I will kill this one, and I will destroy your house. Arya's mother looked as if she might leap across the table and claw Tywin's eyes out. My daughters are innocent of any wrong. You will not. Wars are full of innocent casualties. If ending the war means less, Lannister lives lost, I will gladly kill an innocent, Tywin said flatly. He was calm as ever, but inevitable as a storm. There was no bluff in his voice. He would kill Arya. Whether he enjoyed her company or not, he would slit her throat if her brother rejected his terms. Robb. Arya looked up at her brother. Robb used to help her practice with the bow and arrow when Septa Mordain wasn't looking. He always complimented her needlework even when it was awful. When she was little, he used to take her for rides on his horse because she loved riding. Now, she was being used against him and she hated it. She hated Tywin Lannister for making her his pawn. She could see the pain in Robb's eyes as he mulled over the awful decision. But if he did not take it, it wouldn't just be Arya's life. He would die too. Her mother would die too. She had no doubt that Tywin Lannister had a way to destroy them. What are your terms? Robb finally said. Exactly. You will end this rebellion and renew your pledge to Joffrey as Warden of the North, Tywin said. You will take your soldiers and destroy the Greyjoy rebellion. If you accept the terms, I will return Sansa Stark home. And Arya? Robb asked. I will take Arya as a ward to my house to ensure your loyalty, Tywin said. The words fell on Arya like a death sentence of sorts. She had known all along that this was his plan, but the notion frightened her nonetheless. She will be treated well enough, but if I hear any more talk of northern independence, she will suffer for it. Her mother let out a shuddering breath. She must have known that a hostage would be part of the terms. Nonetheless, it seemed to deflate her. How do I know that Joffrey will not kill me like my father if I go to King's Landing? Robb said. Boo! He will not, Tywin said. I will be present this time. My daughter could not handle him, but I can. If you bend the knee, you will return to the north unharmed. King Aerys said the same thing of my grandfather and uncle, Robb said. I'm not King Aerys, Tywin said. No. But you're a Lannister. I don't trust you either, Robb said. He shot an icy glare at Jaime. You lie and plot. You break oaths. What an awful oath to break, wasn't it? Jaime muttered. He had been largely silent during this debate, letting his father handle the negotiation. He was the eldest son, but he did not quite command Tywin's raw power. A shame. I killed such a kind man. King Aerys, the kindly king. You are still without honor, Robb retorted. Tywin laughed once. It was an utterly joyless sound. Honor is idealistic nonsense, boy. A trick that men use to justify their actions. A trick they use to justify going to war. But the world does not operate by rules of honor. It never has. The reason why the Lannisters have endured for so long is because we recognize that. I suggest you do the same. Robb's jaw tightened. What? He looked from their mother to Arya to Tywin. She could see his honor and his devotion to family tearing at the corners of his mind, threatening to pull him apart. Robb, Arya murmured to get his attention. Robb looked down at her. Ah! Father died for honor too. You need to live. The North needs you. Robb closed his eyes, resting his forehead against his closed fists. Tywin did not say a word. He did not need to. He truly had all of the cards in his hand, ready to play no matter the response. Aye, Robb exhaled. I would like to request some time to think on your proposal. You have until dawn, Tywin said. No longer. May I speak with my sister alone? No, Robb asked. No, Tywin said. Kuzo, you may speak with her after you have given me your answer. For now, I'll keep her with me. Arya's mother gritted her teeth together. You truly are a monstrous sort of man, Lord Tywin. Tywin looked back to her, unmoved. That is why I'm still alive. He steered Arya toward the tent exit. I'll return at dawn. Catelyn Stark had always known Tywin Lannister to be a cruel man. But to dangle her daughter in front of her, only to tear her away, it made her furious beyond belief. It was agony to watch Arya from across the table. Her little girl, trapped in a Lannister's grip. How frightened she must be. Tywin Lannister would kill her without hesitation if it suited him. Which was why Catelyn could not believe Robb was even considering such an option. We cannot leave Sansa and Arya to his mercy, Catelyn said. He will kill Arya, and there is nothing we can do. And whose fault is that? Robb snapped. If we had Jaime Lannister still, it would all be a bluff. But we don't. I have nothing to use against him. I don't even have those Lannister boys. Not that he would trade for them. I was thinking of the girls, Catelyn murmured. You were thinking too hard of them. We could have gotten them back if we just kept winning, Robb said. At best, we will get Sansa back. But no matter what we choose, Arya suffers. She either dies, or she becomes a damned hostage. I know that, Robb, Catelyn said. I heard his terms. You don't think I know what I've done? She shook her head. I was desperate. I was desperate. Bran and Rickon held hostage by Theon and Sansa and Arya with the Lannisters. I needed to try. It didn't do much good, did it? Robb asked. Yo! It did something, Catelyn said. Tywin Lannister offered us peace. He would not have done so if I hadn't given him Jaime. And if he spoke truly, he had some dark plot to kill you and break the Northern Army. I don't doubt him. He is not a man to bluff. So you think I should be grateful that he offered peace? Robb asked. Yo! It is something he rarely does, Catelyn said. It's only your name that brought you this talk. He recognizes that it is easier to keep a Stark in Winterfell, especially with winter on its way. And keep a Stark in his halls to kill if we step out of line, Robb said. What happens if this is a trap? Perhaps it is, Catelyn said. Perhaps it's not. Are you willing to risk your sister's life for it? Robb looked down at his feet. The men of the North put their faith in me, their trust in me. And if they are truly loyal, they will follow you in retreat, Catelyn said. Tell them that you must crush the Greyjoys and save Bran and Rickon. Tell them it is more important to protect home. Tell them that rebellion is unwise when winter is coming and crops must be gathered. She placed a hand on his cheek. Look to the future. Look to the future. Your father is dead. I do not want to see any of my children join him. Robb looked down at her with the eyes of a boy who had recently realized that his mother was not perfect, nor always right. He had lost his faith in her, and she knew she would not get that back. He truly had grown up. It was a painful thing for Catelyn to see, yet she was so proud of how far he had come. You promised me that we would kill them all one day, he said at last. One day we will, Catelyn vowed. But there is wisdom in patience, Robb, and revenge will never be worth more than family. You know your father would say the same. Father is not here because of Joffrey, Robb said. What would he say if I bent the knee to him? What would he say if you allowed your sister to die? Catelyn asked. Robb fell silent. To that, he did not seem to have an answer. The camp was quiet that night and tense beyond belief. Only Jaime's father seemed calm as he sat at his desk writing letters. It seemed Tywin often wrote letters these days, often with the purpose of starting and ending wars. He had such a reach over the kingdom that a single raven from him could alter the course of the country. Jaime could never imagine having that sort of power. His father wanted him to become the man he was born to be. But if that meant becoming like Tywin, he wasn't sure he could manage it. His father had 10 times his ambition and 10 times his ruthlessness. Jaime had no desire for power or Casterly Rock. But even though he had donned a white cloak, his father still considered him his heir. You're calm tonight, Jaime said. You don't seem worried about their decision. It doesn't matter either way, Tywin said. I will be able to end this war, whether they accept my terms or not. One road is slightly cleaner, but I have a plan for both scenarios. Naturally, Jaime said, but I'm sure you have a preference. Tywin looked up at him. Why would I have a preference? His father's expression was stony and unreadable. To everyone, except perhaps his children. Jaime had studied his father for a long time, and he knew the nearly imperceptible difference in his moods. Jaime shrugged. Why take Arya as a ward rather than Sansa? What do you mean? Tywin asked. Why? Asked. If Robb Stark accepts peace, why take Arya as a ward? Sansa would technically be more valuable. She's the eldest Stark daughter, and she's already in King's Landing. From what I've seen, she seems much more docile than her younger sister, so why not keep her? I offered Sansa back to the Starks because she is more valuable. It makes them more likely to accept the offer, Tywin said. So you do have a preference, Jaime said. Tywin set down his pen, leaning back in his chair. What is the purpose of these questions, Jaime? Maybe I'm just trying to figure out how your mind works. You've always encouraged me to follow in your footsteps, Jaime said. Don't play games with me, Tywin said. Say what you mean or leave me be. Jaime held his gaze. Jaime! You like that girl, Arya Stark. You don't want to kill her. He expected his father to deny it. But then, Tywin was always a brutally honest sort of person, even with himself. No, I don't want to kill her, he said. I will. I will do what needs to be done, whatever the Starks decide. What I think of the girl doesn't matter. Jaime exhaled. His father really never let weakness show. He wondered if Lord Tywin Lannister still experienced emotion like everyone else, or if his heart had turned into an empty husk from years without use. "If you truly want to know how my mind works, then know this," Tywin said. "It's never personal feelings or glory or goals that matter. It's about the family. It's about the Lannister name. If you want to truly serve the family, you must be willing to put aside every one of your selfish emotions." "Come." Jaime shook his head, a mirthless smile on his face. "That's a nice idea, father. You should tell that to Tyrion." Tywin's gaze hardened, and in an instant, Jaime knew he had overstepped. "Get out." No, Jaime did not protest. He wanted to escape the conversation anyway. It was true, his father wanted nothing more than to serve the family. Personal emotions didn't matter, he said. Personal wishes and grudges should be cast away. But those words didn't seem to matter when it came to his blind hatred of Tyrion. Tyrion would always be the breaking point for Lord Tywin Lannister's rationality. At least, Tywin had a breaking point. That meant he was as human as everyone else. Arya felt smaller than usual, sitting on the floor of her small tent. It was late, but she knew she would not sleep. She would spend the whole night waiting for the dawn, waiting for her brother's decision. She wondered, not for the first time, what it would be like to die. How much would it hurt, and where would she go afterwards? Would the god of death be a man or a shadow? There is only one thing we say to the god of death. "Not today, not today," she muttered, ducking her knees into her chest. "Yeah, not today." The tent flap brushed back, and she tensed, wondering if Tywin had come for her again. Perhaps Robb had made his decision. Perhaps this was her last night. Instead, Jaime Lannister entered the tent. She started to rise, but he held out a hand. "Don't get up." Arya swallowed hard, looking away. "Does your father need something, sir?" "No," Jaime said. Arya looked up at him suspiciously. "Do you?" "Not particularly," Jaime said. "But I find myself unable to sleep tonight." "I guessed you might be awake as well." "Of course I'm awake," Arya said indignantly. "Why would I sleep if I could die tomorrow?" "Hence my guess," Jaime said. "You shouldn't worry too much, my lady. I doubt your brother will sacrifice you for his war. He seems like a good lad." "Robb is worth 10 of any of you," Arya said firmly. Fear of death made her bolder. Why should she fear speaking her mind when her throat could be cut tomorrow? Depends on what you count as worth. But yes, probably. Jaime tilted his head to the side. "Do you speak so bluntly with my father?" "When I'm feeling brave," Arya said. Jaime laughed once, sitting down on the stool in front of her. "I would call that brave or stupid. Most people wouldn't dare say a single word against him. It's a wonder he likes you so much." Arya's brow furrowed. "He doesn't like me. I'm his hostage." "His hostage whom he keeps as a cupbearer," Jaime said. "If he didn't like you, he would have sent you off to King's Landing long ago. My father doesn't keep company with people he doesn't like." Arya did not reply. "I know it's hard to tell," Jaime said. "I'm not sure he remembers how to smile. And laughing, that's even rarer. It always sounds so forced." He leaned forward. But I'm his son, so I can tell. He only lets you get away with that mouth of yours because he likes you." "I don't like him," Arya muttered. "Of course you don't," Jaime said. "Most people don't like my father. Half the time his children don't even like him. But it will be in your favor if you're to become a Lannister ward." A Lannister ward. The very words made Arya shiver. She only wanted to go home back to Winterfell. Instead, she would return to King's Landing, to the place where her father lost his head. "At least Sansa will get to leave," Arya murmured. "She must hate it there. I always felt awful for leaving her behind." "Your sister seems to be a more delicate person than you," Jaime said. "And King's Landing is not gentle with delicate people. You fare better than her, I'm sure." "Will I?" I'm a Stark, Arya murmured. Starks, historically, did not do well in King's Landing. Her grandfather, uncle, father, they had all died there. She always looked the most like her father of all of his children. She wouldn't last there. Yes, but you're smart, Jaime said. My father would not have taken you as a cupbearer if you weren't. I'm sure you'll find a way. Arya rested her chin on her knees. Why did you come here, sir? To try to make me feel better? No, Jaime said. Curiosity, I suppose. I barely noticed you when I last went to Winterfell. But if you return to King's Landing, we are going to be seeing a lot more of each other. Arya nodded once. It was interesting. She used to quite look up to Jaime Lannister when she first read about him. She looked up to all the great knights of Westeros. Barristan Selmy, the Sword of the Morning. Jaime Lannister was supposed to be nearly as skilled as them, but her father had nothing but contempt for the Kingslayer. He said he was a man without honor for killing King Aerys. Her father was usually right about people. Bah! Whether he was without honor or not, he did not seem cruel. At least, not in this moment. The tent flap opened again and a messenger slipped his head inside. Sir Jaime, your father sent me to bring the girl. The what? Jaime asked. Oh! Robb Stark has made his decision. Arya swallowed hard. It was not yet dawn, but it was time to face her fate all the same. Arya hardly dared to breathe as she met Tywin at the top of the hill. Only meters away sat the tent where her fate would be decided. In less than an hour, she would either be dead or given away as a hostage to the Lannister families. There were no good options for her. She knew it. Tywin knew it. He studied her as she came to a stop in front of him, as if searching for her fear. She raised her chin and clenched her jaw in what she hoped looked like defiance. The corners of his mouth barely twitched. It was the closest he ever got to a smile. Come on, girl. Let's hear your brother's choice. The tension in the tent was almost suffocating. Arya's mother and brother stood on one side of the table, tense and stern. Tywin stood on the other, his grip tight on the back of her collar. In the initial silence, Arya could not read Robb's decision. She did not know what he had chosen. She could almost hear her heart slamming against her chest, trying to escape. What do we say to the god of death? Not today, not today. Robb exhaled at last and looked up at the head of House Lannister. I accept your terms, Lord Tywin, all of them. Arya let out a shuddering breath. All at once, her future became clear. Perhaps not a good future, but it was better than a knife and the shadow of death. Tywin's grip loosened just slightly on her collar. It seemed even he had relaxed just a bit at the words. You're a smart man, Robb Stark. It will serve you well as Warden of the North. We'll discuss the terms again, Robb muttered. His anger was clear, but also his defeat. First, let me speak with my sister alone. For a moment, Tywin did not answer. Then he released Arya. Very well. I will be outside. There was a warning in his voice, a warning not to try any tricks. Robb seemed to hear it, and he nodded. Then Tywin left the tent. Arya released a breath and ran for her mother. She caught her up in her arms, hold tightly. Oh, Arya, she murmured. Sweet girl. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Arya fought tears as she clung onto her mother. Oh, it had been far too long. No, I'm sorry. He used me against you. If I hadn't gotten caught, don't apologize for that, Arya. Catelyn pulled back, brushing her hair from her face. It wasn't your fault. No, it wasn't, Robb agreed. I blame Lord Tywin for this. You? It was though, Arya said. I escaped the Red Keep, Mother. I was disguised as a boy and was well away from them when my group was caught and sent to Harrenhal. You had escaped. Catelyn looked to Robb. That must be why we never heard anything about her from the Keep. Shh. How did Lord Tywin discover you? Robb asked. Lord Tywin took me as a cupbearer, Arya said. He didn't know who I was, just that I was a girl disguised as a boy. I think he could tell I was high-born, but he didn't know. She swallowed hard. Until Lord Baelish arrived. He told Tywin who I was. Her mother's face twisted with rage. Damn him to all the 7 hells. He claimed to be on our side, and he lied. Lord Baelish is on the side of the highest bidder. Nothing more, Robb said. We can blame him for your discovery, Arya. Ghoulie, it wasn't your fault. Arya looked up at Robb. You're not angry with me then? Robb shook his head. What? Gods, no, Arya. Arya rushed to hug him, and he caught her up in his arms, holding her close. She had missed her older brothers, Robb and Jon both. The only thing that she liked about being small was that they could easily pick her up. She used to love feeling weightless. I'm sorry we can't take you home with us, Robb murmured. Your place is at Winterfell. I'm sorry. Ooh, I'm alive. Don't apologize, Arya said. I'll be all right. I can be smart and quick. You already are. Robb sat her down on her feet. No! But I hate to leave you in Tywin Lannister's hands. I can survive him. I've survived him for 2 months now, Arya said. It's Joffrey I'm worried about. If that boy harms you, I will raise my armies again the next day, Robb said. I promise that. Don't, Arya said. Don't let anyone else in our family get killed. Not for me. Besides, you need to save Bran and Rickon first. I'll be all right. Oh, Arya, her mother murmured. The heartbreak in her voice weighed heavy on Arya's shoulders. You've always been so fearless. What? You left the worrying to everyone else. Arya forced a smile. She did not say how afraid she truly was. She did not want to worry her mother anymore. This is not goodbye, Robb said. You'll return to Winterfell someday. I swear it. Arya nodded once. Yes, I'll see you again. It was a promise that neither of them could keep. Robb would not have the authority to bring Arya home, and she would not have the authority to leave. Her fate was entirely in the hands of Tywin Lannister now. Tywin Lannister and Robb Stark discussed the terms again. It was a short meeting, because Robb knew he had little room for debate. The only real question was the timeline of the terms. Robb Stark swore loyalty to the crown in that tent, but it would be some time before he made it to King's Landing to bend the knee. First, he would secure the north by crushing the Greyjoy rebellion. Once the Greyjoys were brought to heel, Tywin could install someone there without a tendency for stupid uprisings. He would kill all the Greyjoys. They'd already had one chance for peace, and they had ignored it. Once the final rebellion was crushed, the War of 5 Kings would be at its end. Stannis on the run, and Renly and Balon in the grave. Robb Stark would then ride to King's Landing to bend the knee to Joffrey, officially. Meanwhile, the Lannister armies would return home. Tywin would take Arya Stark with him and send Sansa Stark back to the north. Robb would send trusted men to King's Landing to escort her. It had all worked out rather well, which was a welcome change from the past few months, and it cemented Tywin's legacy. He had ended many wars and rebellions in his lifetime. He crushed the Reynes and the Greyjoys. He helped Robert's rebellion to success and gave him that bloody Iron Throne. And now he ended the War of 5 Kings. History would remember the Lannister name as one of strength. The lords of the present would not feel the same. The Starks, the Greyjoys, the remaining rebel Baratheons, they would all hate him and curse his name. He was used to such things. What truly mattered was the bigger picture. Even if every soul on earth hated him, including his family and his children, it was the future that mattered. Arya Stark hated him too. He supposed she always had. He could see rebellion in her eyes when she stepped from her brother's tent. She looked up at him with a challenge. I'm your ward now, and you will have to deal with me, she seemed to say. I am still a wolf. I am still a wolf. She was a wolf. In some ways, Jaime was right. Sansa would be an easier girl to handle as a ward. She would do as asked with little resistance. But a ward was associated with the family name, and Tywin had no interest in a docile girl. If he was going to take a ward, he preferred one with a bite. Arya had traveled this road before. The King's Road had been her first major journey from Winterfell. It had also been the first place where she saw the cruelty of House Lannister. Joffrey and Cersei had proved themselves monstrous that day, and Lady and Mycah suffered for it. That was the beginning of the end. They should have turned and left for home at once after that night, but they didn't, and her father was dead because of it. As they drew nearer to King's Landing, they naturally passed through the same villages, including the site of that awful incident. Arya still remembered meeting Mita outside of the butcher shop and asking him to spar with her. It felt like an innocent request, and they had a grand time fighting by the river. But then Joffrey and the Hound. Arya's jaw clenched as she caught sight of the butcher shop. It was because of her that a man lost his son. "You look as if you're plotting to kill Lady Arya," Tywin observed. Arya sighed. Was there ever a moment when he didn't notice a shift in her expressions? Perhaps she was too easy to read. "I'm not plotting to kill. Just thinking about it," she said, urging her horse forward. She did not want to look upon the village anymore. "Explain how plotting and thinking are different." "Plotting involves a plan. Thinking is less solid." "Insightful of you," Tywin said dryly. "And what is you thinking of killing?" Arya stared down at the reins, grasped tight in her hands. Though she was a captive, her wrists were not bound. She could almost imagine she was free. "Did you ever hear the story of what happened between Joffrey and me on the King's Road?" "I heard the story from Cersei, yes. She was furious about it," Tywin said. "You heard the wrong version then," Arya said. "Cersei is a liar. It didn't happen at all how she said it. You don't even know what she told me." "I know it was a lie." "I suppose you better give me your version then," Tywin said, "or else I'll have to accept hers as fact." He was baiting her. It was hard to tell sometimes with the head of Lannister House because his very grim expressions. But Arya was beginning to learn the slight differences in the cadence of his voice. She had been near him for nearly 3 months now, after all. "After all, I was sparring with a boy named Mycah," Arya said. "My brother Jon had just given me a sword, and I wanted to get good enough so that I could use it. No one from our group would ever practice with me, so I found him. While we were practicing, Sansa and Joffrey walked by. Joffrey wanted to fight Mycah next. Her grip tightened on the reins. Only he had a real sword. Mycah didn't want to fight him. Of course he didn't. Joffrey was a prince with a real blade, and he only had a stick. Joffrey started cutting open his cheek, so I hit him with my stick as hard as I could. "You were less worried about fighting a prince, it seems," Tywin observed. "It wasn't a smart decision." "I didn't have a real sword either," Arya admitted. "He nearly killed me. I only avoided his blade because I was quick. But when I got in trouble, Nymeria came to help me." "Your wolf?" "Yes." She bit his wrist until he dropped his sword. "Then I threw it in the river and we ran." Arya shook her head. "I didn't make it far. Lannister soldiers found me quickly, but Nymeria escaped at least. Maybe she's still alive somewhere. I don't know." Tywin said. "Cersei insisted that you maliciously set your wolf on Joffrey. She's a liar." "Nymeria was only defending me," Arya said. "Joffrey and Cersei both lied to everyone. Worse than that, they brought Sansa out and made her lie too. She was there the whole time, but she pretended she didn't see what happened." "She saw." "I know she did." "So?" Joffrey told one story, you told another, and your sister refused to confirm either," Tywin said. "And which opinion did the king listen to?" "He wanted to leave the whole incident behind," Arya recalled. "But Cersei wanted some sort of punishment for my wolf. Only my wolf was gone. So instead..." Arya swallowed. "They killed Sansa's wolf for no good reason. Lady wasn't even there. She'd never hurt anything in her whole life, but Cersei wanted her dead." Arya felt a fresh wave of hatred rising up inside of her. "And Mycah, they killed Mycah too. He hadn't fought Joffrey at all." "Cersei wanted something or someone to blame," Tywin said. "And she couldn't very well kill you, so the wolf and the boy would have to do." It wasn't fair, Arya said. Of course not. And when is the last time you experienced the world as fair? Tywin asked. Arya fell silent. He was right, of course. The world was cruel and often did not make sense. If fairness and justice reigned, her father would be alive and the Lannisters in the dirt. I'm more inclined to believe your story. Cersei told a fantastic lie in her letter, Tywin said. She's been telling fantastic lies since she was a child. Whenever she did something wrong, she always had someone else to blame for it. A maid, a stable boy, her brothers. She always came prepared with a story. She could get away with it with the Septars and the guards and most of her family, but not with me. Arya studied him. But she kept lying to you, even if it didn't work. No, she did everything possible to make sure the issue never came to my attention, Tywin said. I was Hand of the King at the time. I was trying to run a country. It was easy enough for her to convince others that I did not need to become involved. Every successful lie she told, the more overconfident she grew. He shrugged. Oh, no. She's a transparent liar, but she's powerful enough that no one can question it. You can, Arya pointed out. I do. When she attempts to lie to me, Tywin said. Her dishonesty with others does not worry me. Why not? A lie is a lie, Arya said. Yes, and a lie can sometimes protect the family or serve the family's interests, Tywin said. I'm sure your father told a lie or kept a secret for the good of his family. Arya shook her head. What? A rare man, then. Most men are not so honest. Tywin looked down at her. But remember, girl, that honesty of his is one of the traits that cost him his life. Don't make the same mistakes as him. Arya's jaw clenched and she looked away. Yes, her father was honest in a world of liars. Arya was not as good of a person as him, though. She had lied plenty of times and disobeyed and cheated. Maybe the worst parts of herself would help her survive in King's Landing.